Week 4 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few kickers I look to start this week. The first guy, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So we know Butker's been one of the better kickers over the last few seasons in fantasy football. And that's what happens when you're on one of the best offenses in the league, where you're going to get 3 or 4 opportunities per game. And a lot of extra points as well, obviously, factored in. So Butker, the first few games of the season, Week 1 versus Detroit, 8 fantasy points. Week 2 with Jacksonville, 5. And Week 3 versus the Bears, 12. So this week here is Sunday Night Football with the New York Jets. They give up the second most fantasy points to kickers on the season. And this Jet defense is a solid defense, no doubt about it. But right now, I still think the Chiefs will have many opportunities to get in the red zone. The Jets definitely will make a few stops, I believe, early in the ball game. And then the second half, this Chief team really will pull away. So right now, I expect Butker to get a few opportunities. He's a good kicker. Can kick it easily from 50 plus. And this week, he's definitely a kicker I would start this week. The next kicker I look to start is Brett Maher, a Los Angeles Rams. So Brett Maher last season was a struggle for him towards the end of the year with the Dallas Cowboys, missing 5 field goals in a row in the playoffs. But now he's latched on here with this Ram team, and he's had double-digit fantasy points in all his ball games this season. Week 1 in Seattle, 15. Week 2 versus the Niners, 13. And Week 3 at Cincinnati, 10. So this week a good matchup at the Indianapolis Colts, that they're kind of a bend but don't break type of defense where field goal opportunities will be there. And we saw it last week, obviously, in that Raven game with Indianapolis, that Tucker had to settle for a few field goals in this one. So Brett Maher, we know he has a good boot. I know the inaccuracy's been a problem for him throughout his career, but right now, while he's kicking the football good and getting opportunities on a Ram offense that does have trouble punching the ball in the end zone at times, he's definitely a kicker I would start this week. The next kicker, Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. So Sanders, another kicker, a product of a high-powered offense where opportunities will be there week in and week out. And right now, last week he only had 10 extra points, which possibly could be a record here for Jason Sanders. So on the season, Week 1 at the Chargers, 11. Week 2 with the Pats, 5. And Week 3 versus Denver, 10 extra points in that one. So this week here, it's definitely going to be a tougher matchup, obviously, at the Buffalo Bills, one of the best defenses in the league, and a team that's going to hold you out of the end zone where you're going to have to settle for some field goals. But I still think it's a potential shootout here between these two AFC East rivals in the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. So right now, Sanders' opportunities will be there in a very high-powered offense where they move the football quickly up and down the field. And right now, definitely a kicker I would start this week. The next guy is Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Evan McPherson's been a solid kicker the last few seasons since he got drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals team. Another guy, a product of a high-powered offense, and opportunities are going to be there. So the first 2 weeks, we didn't see much from him with this offense at all. Week 1 at Cleveland, 4. Week 2 versus Baltimore, 5. But Week 3 was the breakout, 19 fantasy points for Evan McPherson. And he even just missed a 50-yarder in that one, or he would add 24 fantasy points. So this week here, a good matchup at the Tennessee Titans that give up the 8th most fantasy points to kickers on the season. So this Titan team, they could bend but don't break at times in the red zone. And like I said, this Cincinnati Bengal team hasn't been great in the red zone so far this season. But in Monday Night Football, they look pretty good. Chase and Burrow back on the same page. But anyway, Money Mac, I think there'll be some opportunities out there for him. He's in a pretty solid offense, obviously. And this week, he's a kicker I would start. And the 5th and final kicker I look to start is Jake Moody of the San Francisco 49ers. So one of the best kickers in the first 3 weeks of the season is Moody in fantasy football with 3 double-digit ball games. Week 1 at Pittsburgh, 14. Week 2 with the Rams, 12. And Week 3 versus the Giants, 10. So this week here versus the Arizona Cardinals, I think this Niner team obviously is going to have their way in this one. And that's team in pro football right now. Them, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, obviously, is the same. Well, them Dolphins, Chiefs, or the Eagles are the best teams in pro football right now, I believe. So Jake Moody, the opportunity's always going to be there. When you're in a high-powered offense with guys like Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle, your team's going to get up and down the field. There's going to be 2 or 3 opportunities per game. And obviously also the extra points. So right now, while Moody's been solid so far to start his NFL career, he's definitely a kicker I would play this week and start. So that's a few kickers I look to start here for Week 4 of the fantasy football season.